1380 KCIM Sports presents KCIM Sports Rewind. A look back at the week in high school sports, brought to you by St. Anthony Rehab Services. Here's Sports Director Jeff Blankman, John Ryan, and Jeff Honnold.
You know, I'm just going to do this right off the bat that Honnold isn't here today. I'm just going to play this right now.
Okay. Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs?
Yeah.
I just hope we can win a game.
Yeah, see, now that he's not here, I can play it in peace.
Absolutely.
Without him screaming in my ear.
Yes, because he for some reason still loves that.
I know.
Yeah. And we are talking playoffs today.
Yes, that's why part of why I played it too. We're going to talk about the RPI rankings, which I feel like the heavens should open, the sunlight should be beaming down us when I say RPI rankings, but it's not going to.
No.
Before we get to that, I do want to say great job by the Audubon football and CRB communities. They held a fundraiser over their last football game, which was a terrific matchup, 4 versus 5.
Yep.
They had a fundraiser. They raised nearly $1,500 for Relay for Life, and they passed the bucket around for that, and 200 pounds of Play-Doh.
Right.
Yeah, that was great. I saw that tweet over the weekend and loved it.
Yeah, absolutely. Two communities that I think have grown a little bit closer since they started sharing some school things here over the last, 4 or 5 years and really put their heads kind of together on this and did just a great job. So you tip your cap to all the different communities and everybody that was involved with getting this put together.
Yeah, the football game, maybe they're not as friendly now that the football game is over and somebody's got some hard feelings going on. We'll find out about that game coming up in just a few more minutes. But boy, tell you what, there's some teams looking really good out there right now. And let's take a look at what the RPI ratings. First of all, explain what these are for somebody who doesn't know.
Well, for somebody like me, they're just a silly computer formula that tries to tell you who the best teams in the state are. I'm not a computer guy, so I'm not a math formula kind of guy. I'd rather.
Do you feel like rankings are better?
No, I don't. And I'll say this: I used to vote for the AP. I used to vote for the Radio Iowa poll. It's hard to do because I'm watching the games in my area. You can read up, and stuff on the internet, about teams in Eastern Iowa. But if you can't see them, it's really hard to kind of understand how good they are. And I don't feel like rankings can be as legit as what they need to be for that reason.
Yeah, you see, everybody gets higher rankings based on reputation.
Yes.
You've been good in the past, they're going to rank you higher.
Absolutely.
In this, and that always counted in towards playoff seedings as well.
Right.
So that natural bias
right.
was included in that.
Absolutely. And just because you were good last year doesn't necessarily mean that you're good this year. You might have played a terrible schedule and your record's good, so you're going to maybe be ranked higher. But I'm not a computer formula, and I'll throw out South Central Calhoun, for example. They're sitting number 11 in the first RPI rankings that come out.
And they're ranked 6th.
They're a top 5 to top. They're definitely a top 10 team. Probably a top 5 team with the way they've played this year. But you look at their schedule, it's not been very strong. Their non-district schedule, hardly anybody's done well. IK Manning now at 3-3 has probably got the best record out of their non-district opponents. Their district is not very strong. South Hamilton at 3-3 is probably the top team, or 3-4 along with them. Pocahontas area, who's the best team as far as RPI rankings that they have on the remainder of their schedule, and Pocahontas comes in ranked number 23. So their schedule has really hurt them. But if you watch this team on the field, and I know math people yell at me that, you can't tell by the eye. I'm an eye believer. I watch this team and I know they're better than the 11th best team in the state. And their RPI is not going to get better because they played number 23 in Pocahontas area, number 42 this weekend in Madrid, and then they close out with Eagle Grove, who's ranked last at number 54. Their RPI ranking's not going to get better. They're probably not going to move up. This is going to impact their seeding and who they get stuck playing in the opening round of the playoffs. And they're better than what this RPI ranking is, and that's why I don't like the RPI, and I don't like computer formulas.
I can understand what they were going for.
I do too.
But, South Central is just kind of handicapped because of their schedule. Nothing they could do about it. Schedule's not put together by them.
Right. Well, their non-district is. They can request who they want to play, in the non-districts. But, you look at it.
They send in a list and then they're assigned.
Yeah. ESAC's usually really good. ICAM Manning's usually really good. Kemper's usually, district title last year. Those three teams in the area struggling this year compared to what they normally do. That hurts.
For people in our area, they love to see those matchups.
Absolutely.
It's great for the gate. It's great for the schools.
And those games should continue to be played. Absolutely, yeah. So, not that RPI is totally bad, but I don't think it should be something that should be the full focus. They go by your schedule and your opponent's schedule. So, if those opponents are playing really good teams, that helps you out some. But I just don't think it's as accurate as it needs to be, because there's no way South Central Calhoun's the 11th best team in Class 1A.
I agree. And honestly, they're not out there racking up huge numbers, because they just don't do that to people. They put up some big, solid numbers, but they're not out there to run up the score on anybody.
Yeah.
And so, and then eventually that does work probably against them. I'm not sure if they have the point limit anymore.
The point limit isn't in there anymore. So, margin of victory has no impact on the rankings at all in the RPI.
All right, so let's get to it. What are the big takeaways? This is the first time they've been released, so this is our first really clear look at playoffs and where potential seedings might be.
Yeah, nothing really surprised me at all, except for probably, where South Central Calhoun found themselves ranked. But in 8-man, I think a lot of people have been worried that district with Coon and Audubon and Caminita might only get one. If you look at the RPIs, they're sitting really pretty good. Now, there's still some big matchups. Coon's got to go to Caminita next week. They host Glidden this week, which is a rivalry game and never an easy one. Audubon has Glidden next week, and then they close out with Caminita in week 9. So there's still some big games that could impact this. But right now, Caminita, surprisingly in a way, they're ranked number 1. So they're the number 1 team. They're ranked like 7th when it comes to the regular rankings. They're ranked number 1 in the RPI. Audubon sitting at number 4. And I think Audubon, it's another thing that I don't like about the RPI. Their only loss was to Remsen St. Mary's on the road, a 2-point conversion with under 5 seconds remaining in the game. They lose by 1. That's their only loss of the year. Remsen St. Mary's, who has dominated everybody but that game all year long, is only ranked number 6. So that's probably why Audubon sitting there only at number 4. But Remsen beat him, and in the RPI is undefeated and ranked behind him. Coon Rapids Baird, with their loss to Audubon, is sitting at 7. So you got 3 teams sitting in the top 7. My guess would be is, if they all go with 1 loss in the district, say somehow Coon beats Cam and then Cam beats Audubon, and they all sit there with 1 loss in the district, I think they're all 3 guaranteed to go in at that point, no matter what. But I look at it and I say, if Audubon can win out and stuff, and Coon, even if they would lose to Cam, win or lose against Cam, I think they still got a really good chance to get in, because my guess is they're not going to be hurt real bad with another loss, with where everybody is ranked right now.
So it's really going to help Coon Rapids Baird. The RPI ranking is going to help them, but it's going to hurt South Central Calhoun.
Yes.
So
yes, absolutely.
That is an interesting scenario
but
to kind of go by.
It would do them a lot better if they win out. I think if they win out, they're guaranteed, even if they don't get a share of the district championship to get in. Cam could get hurt, but I don't know how much. If they would lose to both Coon and to Audubon, you wonder how far they would fall. But I look at that and I go, right now with 3 teams in the top 7 with 3 games to play, I don't think anybody can fall completely out. I wouldn't think that would be the case.
Each of those teams have a big game left.
Yes.
And Cam, you can argue, so they've got to play Audubon, they've got to play Coon Rapids Baird.
They're 2 biggest games.
They've got probably the toughest schedule to go.
Right, absolutely.
So, again, it's playoff, it's district champions, and the next... How many teams in the state?
Depends on, in 8-man, there's 9 districts, so they would take then the next 7 after the district champions. Now, you do have to worry about, how many districts might share a champion. So shared champions all get in. So that could impact that number. Absolutely. So those are the things you kind of got to watch for around the state. Glidden Ralston, we've talked a little bit about them because of who they're playing. They're sitting at number 30 right now with an opportunity to move up, because they still have Coon and they still have Audubon left on their schedule. So that would be an opportunity for them to move up. 1 and 3 in the district right now, though, probably would need to, win out and catch some lucky breaks to be able to get into the playoffs. And then Arweva, the last of our 8-man teams, down at number 57 this week.
All right, let's talk about the other classes. What do we got there?
We'll move in with Class 3A and the Carroll Tigers, kind of what we expected with their non-district, going 1-3. They've got to win the district to get in. Coach McCartan's been saying that since early this season. They're sitting at number 34 right now. Dallas Center Grimes, who's tied with them undefeated in the district, is at number 12. They're 5-1 on the year.
So in essence, that game with DCG's playoff game for Carroll.
It is, absolutely. They do need to win out to get to that. That'll be the Week 9 matchup down at DCG. They've got Perry, who's ranked 53 out of 54 teams. This is what's killing Carroll. They've got Perry that's on the schedule this week. They're 53rd. Boone is 54th. So 2 teams in their district. Last 2 teams in the RPI rankings. Humboldt, who they play next week in Week 8, is 48th. So 3 of the teams on their schedule in their own district are 3 of the bottom 6 or 7 teams. So that won't help them, but the DCG game will probably determine. For Kemper in Class 2A, the Knights in trouble to be even able to win that district right now.
They're going to need
0-2. They're going to need some help. They're ranked 42 right now. They've got matchups this week with Red Oak, who's number 50. Next week with Shenandoah, who's 34. Next week, I should say, with OABCIG, who's 5. And then the following week with Shenandoah. OABCIG is 5. Greene County is number 6. So those 2 teams look like they're going to match up for that district championship. We talked about South Central Calhoun in 1A. Esac County, they're at 2-4 right now overall. 1-1 though in the district, so they're not out of the district hunt. They're tied in second place behind Trainer. Trainer, in a way, those already got their other tough game probably out of the way with Underwood. They played Esac and Underwood back-to-back and got wins. They're ranked 12th is at Trainer, Esac at 37th. So for the Raiders, they're going to need a little bit of help to probably get through. They've got games remaining with Missouri Valley, who's ranked at number 22, Underwood, who they'll take on this weekend, that's ranked number 14, and then Maple Valley Anthenoto Charter Oak Youth, that's ranked number 46. So for Esac, if they could win out, knock off Underwood, we'll see if they could climb high enough to maybe potentially get in there as one of the other teams. And then IKM Manning, probably in that win the district thing. 2 of the 3 teams they've got left, including this week, Alta, Aurelia. You got Alta, Sioux Central, and IKM Manning undefeated in the district. They all play each other over the next couple of weeks. IKM Manning host Alta Aurelia, who's number 14 this week, and then they take on Sioux Central coming up in Week 9. Sioux Central's at number 23. Ridgeview is their other opponent, and they're ranked number 52. So that's kind of where everybody's at and who they still have left to play based off the RPI.
So is the state basically committed to going with this?
Yes.
Once they're determined. So everything's going to be determined with that, taking all decision-making out of the hands
out of the hands of everything.
The athletic union or the athletic association.
Yep.
So,
and I don't know if there's a perfect way. I know I was kind of hard on it here a moment ago. I don't know if there's a perfect way. My idea was always there's enough people that really know football and watch football and pay enough attention. And with Huddle, you can pull up any game across the state. If you're okay to be able to do that, you got to pay a fee. I would think that you could maybe put together some kind of a committee, kind of like what the NCAA does. And they at this time of the year, you kind of have an idea of the teams you need to watch and which teams are probably going to get in. You watch those teams each week on Huddle. You break down the film. You kind of get an idea, and maybe you have a committee selecting rather than a computer formula.
And you hope they do their homework.
Yes. If they don't, then they shouldn't be on the committee.
Yeah, that's true, but it's you still take that chance.
Yep.
That they do their homework with that. So yeah, you can see why they went to it because they don't want to have that decision making on the whole loop of the things. But yeah, there's still some flaws.
I like it better than the top 4 teams. I do like it better than the top 2 because I think like this year with that 8-man district with Cam and Audubon and Kuhn, I think all 3 deserve to get in. If you're only going with the top 2, one of them's left out no matter what. Kuhn had that happen to him a couple of years ago when they went 8-1, and it's not that life is fair, but that's not right. When a team deserves to be in there. But I don't know if this formula is perfect yet, and I don't know if a computer formula ever can be.
Yeah, unless you put everybody in the playoffs, which case that's the scenario they wanted to avoid.
Absolutely.
That's why they went away from the top 4 in each district. So that's a quick rundown of the RPI. We got to talk about the actual games themselves on Week 6. We'll do that coming up next on KCIM Sports Rewind.
As the athletes at your house. accredited sports performance facility. If an injury is keeping your athlete out of the game, call St. Anthony Rehabilitation Services at 794-5000 for sports injury and treatment rehab.
It is KCIM Sports Rewind every Tuesday morning, 9:30. You can catch a podcast later on at 1380kcim.com, and you'll probably walking around with all this knowledge in your head after you do that. I'm not going to say you're going to be a lot smarter, but I'm saying you're going to be a lot smarter. That's what I'm saying.
Knowledge in this show have never been put together, have they?
Have they ever been synonymous? I'm not quite sure. I do know one thing. If you want to save some money this wintertime and this summertime, get a proper amount of insulation in your attic. It's absolutely vital, and the great folks at Carroll Lumber with locations in Wall Lake, Lakeview, and Odebolt going to help you get ready for it. Temperatures this weekend, by the way, going to be in the mid-40s.
I know. I've heard lows down into the 30s that we might have some frost and stuff and maybe some freezing conditions. Maybe even a little snow maybe mixed in with some of the rain this weekend.
Just a little taste of what is to come. So now would be a great time.
Get it done.
Don't do it when it's 90 degrees, and also don't do it when it's 20 below.
Right, absolutely.
Do it now when you have some reasonable chance of doing it without too much of a bother. So they can do it. They can just give them the dimensions. They'll figure out exactly what you need.
Right.
So you don't need to be an expert on what you need or how much you need. They can figure all that out. Again, but it's gonna help you keep the heat in the wintertime and keep the cool air in as well, because again, this stuff is just going to save you money year round. Proper insulation is the best way to go when you want to save money. Once again, this wintertime on your heating bills and in your cooling bills in the summertime.
And who doesn't like to save money? That's probably one of the biggest pastimes of people in the world, right? Is trying to save money.
I know a few people that like to spend money.
Yeah,
but nobody likes to spend it on this.
Right, no. No, and I like being warm. So, or cool in the summer and warm in the winter.
I expected to see the hoodie broken out today, but
it's getting close. It's getting close.
You did mention the temperature earlier in here. We got to talk about the games. Kemper taking a loss at Greene County, and again, big plays early. Just did in the Kemper Knights.
Yeah, absolutely. Greene County had touchdown passes in the first half alone of 17, 39, 38, and 15 had over 300 yards passing in the first half alone. And that was something Kemper was concerned about coming into the game. They got pressure up front, but, just left guys behind them. And Greene County's got some really good athletes. There's a reason why they're ranked where they are, and they looked it. They came out defensively and kind of controlled Kemper on the offensive side of the ball, and they jumped up early in the game and never really were pushed after the early parts of that game.
Over 300 yards for Greene County in the first half. Kemper less than 100, but it makes some nice plays in the second half to kind of get back into it. And they tried an onside kick late third quarter, just didn't go their way, and that kind of turned the tide permanently for Greene County.
Yeah, had it 38-22, but just over 2 minutes left, and Simon Wagner's got a really nice little onside kick. He kicks it right up the middle, and he just he takes off after it right after he boots it, and he came really close to recovering it. Could have gotten really interesting if they'd have maybe gotten that onside kick, but they didn't, and Greene County was able to run out the clock and get a late touchdown to extend it to 45-22.
Tigers hosting homecoming this past weekend, 55-13 winners over the Boone Toreadors. One of those games they were expected to win, and one of those games they went out and performed.
Absolutely, and really probably their best game of the year. And I thought it was interesting. Danny McCartan kind of talked about shrinking the playbook.
Said, I'm definitely a sweep guy. We need to run sweep, and if sweep's good, trap's good, and power's good. And so when we were in gun, we really stuck to that, not trying to do anything out of the ordinary there. And we kind of tweaked up a fullback power, and Ryan Johnson ran that real well. And so those three things were working for us. And when we went under center, we were strictly trying to run ISO veer, and then we'd put in a counter this week. And in fact, we scored, I think, 2 touchdowns on the counter play. Okay. I think Levi Reesberg and Cade Shabel both had touchdowns there. So.
Yeah, and it's nice to see a coach say, we're shrinking the playbook and doing things and focusing on just doing things well.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what Coach said they're going to continue to do. He said, if they could run, 3 run plays and 3 pass plays the rest of the season and be effective with those, that's what they're wanting to do. But Colby Vincent also had his best game of the year, 9 of 12 throwing the football, 4 touchdowns in the game. So a huge game for the Carroll Tigers. That moves them to 2-0 right now in the district.
Yeah, they play at Perry coming up on Friday, another game that they should easily win on that one. Then the big matchup of the week, of course, was Coon Rapids Baird at Audubon.
Yeah, and this we knew was going to be a good game. We knew it was going to be a battle of which team could win the physicality battle. And it sounds like early on, Coach Sean Burke's really happy with the way his defense came out.
We played really, really well, especially early in the game, till when our offense wasn't clicking. Defense held their own. They kept them on on their end of the field. They forced a few punts till finally the offense could break through, and then we got 2 scores right before half. We talked about if we can get up 2-3 scores on these guys in the second half, they're going to get uncomfortable. They're going to have to try to throw more, which they don't like to do, and that played right into the game plan as well. But offense finally got some things figured out again in the second half, but defense is the reason for the victory tonight.
Yeah, 14-0 at half. Coon Rapids came back with a touchdown to cut it to a 1-score game. Couldn't convert on the extra point, but then the Wheelers just kind of took over again. Yeah,
absolutely. And the biggest thing was, Coon really likes to survive with that physicality in the run game. They like to be able to get Jeffrey Eagle, who's a tough, slippery runner, who's great on the cutback. But they were able to hold him to, I think Honnold said 23 yards in the first half. He ended up with 154 on the game, but they controlled that offense and that really powerful offense for Coon early in the game.
Yeah, that's knowing your opponent right there, I think, too.
Absolutely.
South Central Calhoun, they pick up an easy win over that. 21-6. I was a little surprised this wasn't by more, but...
Yeah, South Hamilton.
Turnovers.
South Hamilton, a physical team. And last year, South Central Calhoun lost 6 guys to injuries in this game, so they knew it was going to be tough. South Hamilton had won 3 in a row coming in. It was a 7-6 game at the halftime. Titans missed a couple opportunities. John, you just said turnovers. They had a couple of turnovers on some drives where they maybe could have scored in the first half. But in the second half, they had 3 possessions. 2 of those were touchdowns. The other one, they kneeled inside the 5 in the closing seconds of the game. So dominated, on the ground, time of possession in the second half. And the defense, after giving up kind of a short touchdown drive early in the game, really dominated the rest of the game.
Next week they travel to Madrid. That used to be a game that you just circle on the calendar because that would have been a great one. But again, Madrid is not quite up to South Central Calhoun's level.
No, Madrid's struggling, with the coaching staff changing a couple of years ago and everything. They've kind of started to slide a little bit, and sometimes you see that happening. And right now they're winless on the season. So South Central Calhoun, for them, it's really being focused and being ready to play.
IKM Manning comes out with a nice win over Manson Northwest Webster. They jump up early, use the big play. We talked about them needing to get their playmakers to get explosive plays, and that's what they did.
Absolutely, and I think what some people probably don't realize is they lost Colton Brandt for a little while in the non-districts. He is not just a great linebacker, but he also gives them another weapon offensively. Now you got 3 guys in the backfield that can all tote the ball and run it really, really well. So you had 3 guys go over 60 yards in the game. Brandt had 67. Kyler Rasmussen finished with at 96, and Amos Rasmussen finished with at 94. So now you kind of got a 3-headed attack in that run game, and then Nolan Ramsey throws the ball really effective. They don't have to throw a lot, but he's an effective passer. So this is a team that we'll find out for sure where they sit after Friday night when they host Alta Aurelia. I think that could be the district championship game, but I know when I talked to Coach Casey, he said Sioux Central will have something to say about that yet as well.
Yeah, that 3-committee running back is reminiscent of the early days of IKM Manning.
Absolutely.
They had 3 outstanding backs in the backfield. East Sac, we talked about in the early parts of the season, what a rough non-district
a lot of
schedule
injuries, tough non-district.
Just a tough schedule. Boy, they went out, and in the district, they just rolled over Cherokee 56-0.
And I know Coach McCullough was really wanting to try and get the guys in the slot the ball more this week. They really liked the way their running backs were running, but he said, we've got guys in the slots that can be dangerous. They were able to do that this week. Dawson Mack had a nice touchdown run on a long one. Jake Payson ran for 88 yards in the game. Quentin Ludwig went over 100 as that tailback. So, they're starting to get that running game going, but really special teams was huge in this game.
We kick off. Our kickoff team did a fabulous job. I mean, they just flew down, made plays, and somehow in the scrum, Max Justin stripped the ball from the return guy, and Max turned around. He returned it about 30 yards for a score.
That's Eric McCullough, of course, from the New Way Ford Scoreboard Show on Friday night, talking about the special teams and how good they were for East Sac County in that convincing win.
Yeah, and they set up
They set up the first touchdown too, John. They kicked deep. They pinned them back inside the 5. Defense stuffed them and gave them a short field to score their first touchdown of the game as well.
A couple more 8-man games to get to. Newell Fonda cruising by Arweva 32-8 on Friday night.
Yeah, Arweva still trying to get better and did. I think Coach Peterson felt like this might have been the most complete game that they played. Will Regaller had just an amazing game defensively, but still a young team, still trying to just get better every week.
Yeah, there's a team that's close to having a year under their belt.
Yep.
They've got 5, 6 games under their belt right now. So Glidden Ralston also cruising by Boyer Valley, putting up 50 points on Boyer Valley.
Yeah, and I thought the interesting thing in talking with Coach Lynch going into the week was he talked about really wanting to just go back to having fun, and he talked about that after the game on the New Way Forward Scoreboard show as well.
Really happy with my guys. You know what? We put a lot of pressure on them. I felt like the whole year they've been feeling a lot of pressure, and we just kind of went to let's get back to having fun. And we walked out here tonight, and that's what it looked like. We just wanted to get back to having fun and playing football. And from the get-go, we scored on our first drive, and then our defense just played lights out all night. We didn't let anything behind us. I don't know. It looked like the team I expected to have all year.
Yeah, it's a team that's out of playoff contention, but now it's building to next year, and now it's sending out those seniors on a high note.
Absolutely, and they can still have an impact on the playoffs with games against Coonan, games against Audubon coming up. Some wins, they could still finish top half of the district, end up over 500, and still have an impact maybe of who gets in.
If you're going to have to play those teams back to back, you want it late in the year when at least you've got a lot of experience behind you and running a new offense and being kind of a new twist on the whole team this year.
You bet. So, and I know we got to get to a break, John. I just want to see, we have to Mr. Cones here after the show today. He just texted in and says, I can confirm the intelligence comments on one side of the board. I just don't know if he's talking you or me on this one.
Well, now we both have a reason to be suspicious of him.
Absolutely.
That's not going over well. Not going over well at all. All right, back with more coming up.
As the athletes at your house. Rehabilitation Services at 794-5000 for sports injury and treatment rehab.
The playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
I will not play that if Honnold is here. I'm just telling you that right now. I will play it while he's gone, however.
Yes.
I'm not giving that guy anything else.
And the funny thing is he'll probably be gone more now just so he can sit back and record you playing it.
Probably. Getting to crunch time in volleyball.
It is. Absolutely. Playoff pairings should be hopefully released sometime today. My problem is it'll probably be after I'm on the road to head to Lewis Central for the Kemper-Lewis Central volleyball match today, so I probably won't get to breaking them down until either tonight or tomorrow. But we've got some huge matchups tonight. Conference championships could very well be determined tonight with 3 of our area volleyball matches. You just heard me mention I'm headed down to Council Bluffs tonight for the Kemper at Lewis Central matchup.
That's always a fun one.
It is. Kemper with a win clinches at least a share of the conference championship. Lewis Central right now, along with Red Oak, just one loss behind Kemper in there. So Lewis Central also playing for a part of that championship with a win.
Have they met this year?
This will be their only matchup of the season. Lewis Central's only loss was to Red Oak. Red Oak's only loss was to Kemper, and Kemper undefeated right now in the conference. Carroll Tigers and Bondurant for our 2 undefeated teams in the conference. The conference championship, for the most part, decided tonight. Winterset's got 1 loss. Carroll hosts them next week to wrap up the regular season. But tonight, I think, really is going to be the one that will determine that conference championship. So a big matchup for the Tigers at home tonight. And the Rolling Valley Conference going to be determined over on KKR on Kick 106.7. 7 tonight. Coon Rapids Bayard at Glidden Ralston. Coon right now a half-game lead over Glidden because they've played one more conference game. They're the 2 undefeated teams. They've got a 2-3-game lead on everybody else in the conference. They're clearly the 2 best teams, and they're going to be squaring off tonight. That should be a real fun one. Tom Hawkcap will have that call over on Kick 106.7.
Also, conference tournaments, you said, coming up. When are those going to be on the way?
Yes, the Western Iowa Conference tournament and also the Twin Lakes Conference tournament will be next week, and then next weekend is the Rolling Valley Conference tournament, and that'll be hosted by the Coon Rapids Bayard Crusaders.
When do playoffs begin?
They should begin sometime
22nd?
right around that 21st, 22nd. Yep.
So a week from Monday or Tuesday, that's when those will begin into playoff pairings again, announced coming up a little bit later on this afternoon, correct?
You bet, yes.
Right,
and we're looking at holding our fall all-star game for Rewind on November the 17th. That's the date I'm trying to get solidified with where we're going to host it. So.
All right, sounds good. That is KCIM Sports Rewind for this week. You can always catch a podcast anytime you want at 1380kcim.com or watch the video. We stream it online with our great friends from Johnston Communications, Jason and Chelsea, safely tucked away in the corner once again this week. So
and good to see them this week.
Yeah, they're back after a couple weeks absence. So they're safe, they're alive, they're just in the corner right now.
And Chelsea's freezing.
Yeah. What's new? Again, join us online at 1380 KCIM on Facebook page or the Johnston Communications page for the live video stream.
When you need to know.